So, the Tennessee Titans are terrible. I mean, I just can't even do it anymore with the Tennessee Titans. Um, just watching that game was so terrible. I don't even know what to say anymore. Um, you have two interceptions that were easy. I mean, you have the one with Malcolm Butler, which was right in his chest, which makes no sense. Then you have the one with the Dory Jackson, which went right through his hands, and he still dropped that. So that right there just shows you. I mean, two two easy turnovers just wiped away, taken away. Um, and then you have where you have these turnovers on the offense that are just terrible. I mean, you have Dion Lewis where he fumbles the ball, which makes absolutely zero sense. I mean, you have Dion Lewis that's even on the field with a what was it, a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, whatever it was, some short third in yardage. And I understand like putting him on the field and having him, be like a decoy type of thing, like disguise is like I'm gonna pass the ball type thing. Because if Derrick Henry's on the field, I can understand people are like, oh, they're gonna run the ball, etc., etc. But for the fact that he even is on the field and fumbles the ball, where Derrick Henry on such a short yardage, I mean, you're talking like a 3 yard is what I'm pretty sure it was, a 3 yard play, where Derrick Henry hasn't been on the field for like 2 or 3 downs, and he has fresh legs, just absolutely fresh legs. And you put Dion Lewis on the field and he fumbles the ball. That is absolute just garbage. Just I don't even know how to explain how you do that. Um, that was just completely awful. Just completely awful on how that even went down. Um, and then you have, you know, the fake punt, the fake punt. I mean, how do you let that up? That fake punt. I mean, I understand it was like 4 or 5 yards, so you're like not really expecting it, but still, like for some team that does the fake punt a lot, like we do the fake punt so much, how do you let that fake punt just even happen? That is just awful right there. I mean, that should have never even happened. And then if that never happened, that fucking 7 yard score never happens. So that's one thing. Then, on top of that, when you have the touchdown to Christian McCaffrey, the pass to Christian McCaffrey, where he's their whole entire offense, and yet you let him go in for the touchdown uncovered for the touchdown. I mean, this was all in the first half of the game, the first 2 quarters of the game. At that point, I kind of already gave up on the game. It was just ridiculous. I mean, the first 2 quarters, you kind of already knew they were going to lose that game, which is terrible. I mean, it makes no sense. It's so bad that they're going to lose that game. Um, And like I said, you could already tell the first half that game was over. I mean, that game was done ski. That game was not even there. And the funny thing is, with the possible turnovers, the Malcolm Butler and the Adoree Jackson turnover, and then The Dion Lewis and the Brown turnovers that shouldn't even have happened. This game should have been out of reach almost for the first quarter. I mean, it should have been up. We should have probably been up at least 20 to like, what was it, 3 or 20 to 6 in the first half. That game should have been one easy win. All we had to do the second half, if that would have went our way, would to be just to control the clock. And with the way Derrick Henry was running, which he did ran a lot better during the second half, his first half performance probably, like a lot of you would have agreed, was not the worst. Um, it wasn't the best, is what I meant. But second half, he ran the ball pretty decently. I mean, there was no way that we should have even been in this predicament in the first place. And I feel like this is what people are mad about. Like, there's no reason that these little tiny inconsistencies need to pass through week by week and let us lose the game. There's no way. I mean, the way that these inconsistencies pass through, these little tiny things where it's like we don't get the interception, we don't get the first down because of these stupid penalties that are happening, um, they lead to us losing the game ultimately. I mean, there's no way that these don't lead to us losing the game, and it's just absolutely terrible, and it's sad because if people are blaming the offense, it really does not make sense on the offense. If you really look at the offense, the way that Ryan Tannehill's been running the offense, and for me, I'm a person that's been a Marcus Mariota supporter for the longest time. The way that Ryan Tannehill's running the offense, it makes sense that he should be in control of this game. I mean, the the Brown interception, not his fault. The Dion Lewis fumble, not his fault. That's the Dion Lewis thing was coaching. The coaching on that was terrible. If it is 3rd and 3, and if Derrick Henry on 3rd and 3 has fresh legs, let him run the ball. There's no reason not to let him run the ball. And then AJ Brown, I get he's a rookie, but there's no reason that he lets the ball go right through his hands and leads to an interception. There's no reason for that. Ryan Tannehill actually played, I think, to the way that he should have played. I don't think there's any blame that should be placed on him on this part because of the turnovers and the drops and everything like that. I think Adam Humphries had a good drop. AJ Brown had a good drop. I think that late that Corey Davis even had a drop. I mean, there's no reason that these drops should be happening. Um, the turnovers are absolutely awful. It just makes zero sense um, why this is happening. Um, Without those two turnovers, and then Tannehill is at the end. He's trying to force these passes, which is a bad and a good thing in a sense, I guess. Um, he's trying to force these passes because he knows he's down. He shouldn't even have been in this situation where he was down. We should have been up by probably like 15, 20 points. And then Suck Up misses these, field goals. He comes back. Everybody's excited for him to come back. They're like, we're finally rid of Parkley. We're rid of Santos, stuff like that. And in reality, we probably should have kept the Bears kicker for these kicks because obviously Suck Up was not ready to go on. He just was not ready there. So I mean, those are 6 points right there. Now those 6 points would have won us the game, but they could have did a big role in deflating the offense of the other team, and it's just bad. It just makes no sense. These are just my takes on it. I kind of wish I could go live right now, but apparently I can't go live with the way my YouTube channel is. Um, so I'm just kind of like recording this nonchalant, making this, and it's just bad. It's just it's sad to watch. It's sad to see. It's just it's not fun. I mean, with this loss, you kind of were hoping that the Tennessee Titans came out, they played up to their ability, they won this game. And if they won this game, it kind of puts you in a position to where, you know, you're thinking maybe playoff potential, or you're thinking we're going to push for the playoffs. Um, I mean, the Colts did lose, so that's one thing, but then the Houston Texans did win, so that's another thing. So it's still in contention. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but you're thinking with the way that they're having a non-experienced quarterback play. You're talking he probably would have thrown 3 or 4 interceptions if we could have played up to our ability. With those interceptions, I mean, there's no way he should have been able to win. And then you do a good job of covering up McCaffrey, and then you let him slip by on an obvious third down where they're going to pass it to him, and he's not even covered. I mean, that's just absolutely terrible. You're talking we play Kansas City next week. So, and then we might get lucky if Kansas City was like, hey, we're not going to play Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to be out. But it looks like Patrick Mahomes is going to play. So on that, it's just not even, with Patrick Mahomes playing, I just feel like, I mean, we have beaten Kansas City. That playoff win with Marcus Mariota, we caught his own touchdown pass. That is like the ultimate highlight, but I don't know how that's gonna win. If we would have won this game and we would have been like 5-4, and then we would have lost that game, I would have said, "Hey, we still have a tough schedule, but we're still in contention." If we beat Kansas City next week, I'll still have some hope. But if we would have beat Carolina and then went on to beat Kansas City, I'd be like, we're definitely making a push. Like, we're playing so much better. We're doing this. We're doing that. I mean, we would have been like, what, 6-4? Then we would have had to play the Colts, had to play, the Texans, stuff like that. Play the Texans twice. But we probably would have got to play the Colts without T.Y. Hilton, which is probably one of the main reasons that we've been losing against the Colts. So if we would have made a push, we would have beat the Panthers and we would have beat Kansas City. I would have said definitely. There's no way we're not gonna. I mean, we would have been 6-4, and then probably got at least 1 or 2 wins against, maybe at least split with Houston, and then probably beat the Colts one more time. But now that we lost to Carolina, I'm just kind of like, I don't know how that's gonna work out. Um, I just can't believe the loss. I mean, just the way that everything went down, it's just terrible. I mean, the defense on these interceptions, the offense on these easy turnovers that should never have happened. I mean, Deion Lewis shouldn't have even been in that situation for one. Even though, I mean, he shouldn't have fumbled, but he shouldn't have been in that situation. A.J. Brown, he's a rookie, but still right in the hands. And then the other 2 turnovers, they also were questionable. So it's kind of like, it just is. It's sad. It's just so sad that we were in that game. We should have been the first 2 quarters ahead. Um, we should have just been in that game like I said, and then the missed field goals and stuff like that. We probably should have been at the half. We should have probably been 20-6 at the half if everything went as planned. I mean, these penalties that held us back, these stupid, you know, turnovers. I mean, Tannehill, like at the end, like I said, he forced these turnovers, but he was just trying to play to win at that point because we were just doing so horribly. That's the way I feel about it. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm just kind of ranting, giving my comments. Um, like I said, I wish I could go live and talk about all this in public, but I can't right now. So let me know what everybody thinks. Um, let me know what you think the final record's going to be. At this point, I think we might get 6 wins, if that. Um, I was really hoping we'd win this game and then possibly show up against Kansas City because then we still have a hard schedule. I mean, we play the Colts, we play the Texans twice, we still have to play Jacksonville again. So, I mean, this was a huge, huge loss. If this would have been a win, I could see us still pushing. But since this was a loss, I just don't see it anymore. I don't even think the 9-7 is possible. I I think it's more like 6 and what is it, 12 at this point. I just don't see it anymore. Um, which is sad because we have so much defensive talent. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons has been lighting it up. Logan Ryan, he's a stud. Byard's a stud. Even Butler didn't do too bad, except he dropped that pass, and Adoree dropped that pass or interception too. But I mean, you know what I mean. I mean, defense has been okay. Offense has actually been okay since Tannehill took over. But then you have all these penalties and you have all these stupid things like the the Brown thing was not Tannehill's fault. You have the Deion Lewis thing wasn't his fault. And then you have him forcing passes at the end, which really even weren't his fault either. I mean, they're bouncing off hands of receivers, so it's just I don't know, it's just bad. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think and any questions, whatever. All right. So I'm gonna sign off. Any other things? Drop it down below in the comments.